being recorded.
Yeah, hello everybody to another session of the XStepCafe. Yes, today Uwe Dittes is with me and also a colleague of mine from consulting, Michael Rahman, who is also very skilled with XSteps. And we have some schedule today. I'd just like to start off with some blog posts I created due to some questions I had, so this will be quite quickly. After that, Uwe will show you something about a new archiving, I think prototype. Is it prototype, Uwe, or is it to be productized?
Let's call it solution proposal.
Okay.
Proposal.
Okay. So not to set expectations too high then. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's kick off with my first topics. And Uwe, maybe if you want, can you accept all the participants while I'm talking?
Yes, if I got them, but I just don't get the pop-up.
Hold on. I'll promote you to host, so then I think you will get those as well. All right. So first thing, I had the question here in my Google Plus forum about searching. It was a pretty concrete request. I think Sue or can go to Google Plus, but it was a question about how can I find XSteps in my repository where I have the input validation active, and they wanted to find those and so that they can change those from never accept to accept the signature, and so that's of course a valid thing to want, and it's quite easy, and probably maybe we've shown it in the past, but maybe just as a refresher, that how you can find things in the XStep repository. You may know that we have a search icon here up above there. Usually, also in the past, I didn't use it a lot because it was a little bit slow and also not very rich. I don't know whether it's still that way, but it is behaving completely different in the context of the XStep repository. So if you've got a repository like that, and let me just select something like this. Probably I'll just validation with signature. Maybe I'll just check out this one here, just to get this straight. I think there I've got some values here with put validation. The system's not the fastest here. No. Okay. Maybe that one here. Okay, let's just briefly enter something here. So I change this to formula and like something like x bigger than 5, and have an error handling that says acceptance, never accept. So that was the scenario, I think. I also, maybe what's anyway a good idea for you to note is probably it's not always necessary, and it's most of the time not really doing anything in the PI sheet, in the resulting PI sheet. But if you name your process instructions, you also have more luck finding things with the search. So I just call this honest demo and save the whole thing. And what I do now is I'm selecting. Oops. No. Wrong. I'm selecting this node here, and I'm clicking on the search here. And you notice that there's a lot of things you can search for, and honestly, I didn't play around with it a lot, but just for the sake of this question, I just immediately go to this process instruction. And what you can do here is you can search for a certain domain. And the domain, so that's a little bit maybe unfortunate, is the characteristic name you have here. And if you happen to come from the old world before the XSteps, then you might know these by heart. If you don't, maybe just let's back up a little bit. If you know you have to search for something like that here, you can always enter this process instruction element here, the node, and then on the characteristic tab, you see all these old-fashioned classic characteristics. So usually don't mess around here, just as a word of caution. So it's good to see what's in there, but probably don't mess around. You would break probably your XSteps. But this is the one here which I'm looking for. It says PPI accept invalid input, and the value is never accept. So that's the first thing which we can search for. So I'm again selecting the node, open the search, and then I'm entering this value here. And of course I'd like to search for value. And here comes the tricky thing. Is let me open up a new session here, and I think it is CT04. Characteristics maintenance. Oh, slow system. Come on. Okay, maybe I'm switching over here and just search for any instructions where this is in there, and I would probably find at least the one I just renamed. But hopefully the performance is not bad for all things I do here now. Okay, great. Okay. I don't know what happens here, but let me just move that up here, and hopefully that's just something with some broken instance I have here in the other areas. There it comes. Okay, so now I'm only searching here in this tiny little area, so only over these two XSteps, and it sure enough found this this thing here, and I can click on it, and it goes right there to this process instruction. It doesn't go to the element, so you have to sort of know, okay, you have to look for the input field here, and then you will find it there. Yeah. What also should work is yes. So if you go to the characteristic maintenance and have a look at the values of those standard characteristics, you see here characteristic value of O2 is never accept. So what should work is a search like that. So again, I'm setting the cursor here on that node. I'm opening up this here, and a value of O2 should work. Yeah. So it's not the text; it's really the value you should enter here. And problem is it doesn't find it. I tried it with other things, with string characteristics, and there it works for a certain value. So probably there's some bug here. So if you need this and you've experienced that as well in your system that doesn't work, that's clearly something for a service message request. So and I encourage you to do that then. Right. So that was the first thing I wanted to show you, and the next thing is a request of somebody who wanted a table not to be scrolled vertically. So he wanted sort of the overall scrolling to be applied only, so that he can see all the lines and does not have to scroll. Don't know whether that's a very common request, but I thought a little bit how we can do that, and I found a quite easy way to do this with some inline CSS, and we covered that before in the XStepCafe, how that works, and I quickly show it here in the XStep. What you can do is anywhere in your PI sheet, if you have an HTML long text, you can include in that long text, and I would sort of usually do that text somewhere in the beginning, but I think it works in every location. So you would usually do some text here, so that you just have something there, and then you can write some coding here, and that's just inline CSS. So for those of you who know a little bit HTML and CSS, this should sound familiar for you. And there, of course, you need to know which are the CSS classes that are used in our standard PI sheet, and I think I also covered that in some episodes before. And I just came up with this. There are two classes which do this, handle this tab scrolling thing, and I just overwrote these attributes here. And when I did that, and I can show this to you, is first of all, I need to send here. That is just created one before without this CSS, so that you know the difference. So I just send that, and I should see a new one here. Yeah, there it is. I think that is the one. Okay, I open up that one here, and expand it. So that's the, maybe I'm just doing it a little bit because I've got an issue I wanted to show you with this solution. Oh, maybe I'll do it afterwards. So first of all, like that. So you see all the line is fitting to the entire width of the thing. And what happens if I'm entering more than 10 lines here? So I'm doing that like that here. Some point in time, it should. There it comes. So that's the 11th line I added, and now a scroll bar comes in here. So that is the standard behavior, and it's also quite okay, I think, because you usually want to have a good overview in your PI sheet, and that's therefore quite convenient that tables with a lot of lines are not showing that entirely. But there may be cases when you don't want to have this, and therefore I'll show you this one here, and hopefully it's the right one. This is active. I marked it here with this text, so there are some hidden CSS settings here, and I'm doing this here. And you see, this is already more than I had done before, and there's no scroll bar. What I did as well is, when I'm collapsing this now, there's still a horizontal scroll bar. Yeah? And the only thing which is a little bit bad is because there's this horizontal scroll bar, it's not showing the last line entirely, and if I'm clicking on it, and then it shows it, and afterwards I think it always shows the last line. The thing there is that you don't see the title really, yes? And you have no means to really get the title back. But there's another solution. I think I posted that also in the XStepCafe, is how to always show the title header. So the header of the columns, and maybe that would work then together with this solution. What you have to bear in mind, though, is that this solution is restricted to CSS3, because I have to, this overflow -y attribute is only available in CSS3, which is only supported from Internet Explorer 9.0 and above. So if you have an older Internet Explorer, this probably won't work, and it works with overflow. But then you also don't have this horizontal scroll bar, and that's of course then you have to scroll the entire PI sheet, which is not very desirable, because if you've got this two-column layout, you've got labels here, you've got the entry fields here, then probably the entry fields would be outside of the visible area, and you would have to always scroll back always around. So that's something you to note for. Okay, so that was my recap of two things that came up since last XStepCafe, using the Google Plus comments, and with that if there's any questions on my previous topics here, you can ask them now, or else I will hand over to Uwe. So are there any questions on this?
Hi, Arnie. This is Sue Roshan.
Hi, Sue.
Hi. I just wanted to note on your first item with the find that if you had searched with N star, that does work. For some reason, it uses the description on that particular type. So if you put your value as N star, it would find the never accepts.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because I played around with it quite a bit because we needed that.
N star, and then I'm doing the search. Hey,
yeah,
great.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense in a way, because I mean the other way is you have to first go to another transaction, enter the characteristic, find these weird values,
right,
non-speaking values. Of course, then that depends on the language, which description you have to search for there.
Exactly.
Good point. Thanks a lot, Sue.
You're welcome.
Maybe I should adapt my blog post. Okay.
I think I had asked the question back. I might have updated it and said that, but I don't remember. So yeah, you might want to look.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other question? If that is not the case, then I would stop my sharing and hand over to Uwe.
Hi. I'll just try to share my screen, and hopefully, so you now should be able to see the first slide of a PowerPoint presentation. Okay. If you have joined the XStepCafe in our last session, there we had some discussion. About how to reorganize, to archive execution steps. And as far as at least two of XStep customers that are going to start archiving projects, we had a discussion here in the development organization if and how we can at least provide a better archiving solution than we have today. Today means the XML-based archiving that was initially shipped together with the first release where XSteps are included. And because we have, let's say, at least a very good solution proposal, I want to share this with you and go to quickly over the agenda. I'll tell you something about the solution proposal, how it is planned to be realized. I will give you a live demo about this, and also at least some findings, some technical findings. I won't go too much into technical stuff that came up when we worked on the solution. Okay. First of all, a short wrap up. The XStep data can only be archived if you have, let's say, the leading object. That could be the master recipe, process or production order, or a standard XStep version. If this object is marked for archiving or is archived. We have this archiving sequence. This means the leading object, the order or the master recipe, is archived. And if we have XStep trees that belong to the leading object, then these XStep trees are marked for archived in the database table that stores the XStep tree data. We will have a short look to this database table later on. If this is done, then you can archive the XStep trees that have this marked for archive status with the archiving objects that are assigned to XStep data. Currently we have one for the XML-based archiving, and we have a new one for the ADK-based archiving. And this could be executed synchronously or independent from the archiving. We can also then start the physical deletion of the XStep data from the database tables. And this is what most of the customers that's now starting the archiving projects are interested in, is to at least get more storage on the database table and improve performance. Okay, a short glimpse to the XML data archiving solution that we had so far. We require a J2E engine with a WebDAV storage, which is quite not that usual. We have also the necessity for an RFC connection to the XML DAS system. And we had some challenges, and at least the most painful part is that on the one hand, the search functionality on the archive is XML-based archive is restricted, and of course the information lifecycle management support is not that good as for ADK archiving as stated here, and it will also not be improved for those solutions that archive ABAP-based data on the XML data archiving solution. So this is like it is today, not so fine. And I will show you in a couple of minutes the solution proposal. Solution proposal means we're working on a solution. It's quite close to be reviewed by our retesters. Here, what I want to point I'll show you the current state. And this is a planned solution. It could be that something might change after we had this demo, or the retester find issues and say, okay, we have to handle this in another way. So here, in bold letters, planned solution. But the first testings were quite promising, and so my hope is that we get a solution that's fast and also more feasible for you, the customers and consultants, like it is today. The initial idea was to use the archive development kit, meaning transaction Sarah, like we do for manufacturing orders and for master recipes for archiving the data. Most of you that, or most of the customers that work with already the ADK are familiar with the concepts, and so we thought it would be quite a good opportunity to offer here this additional archiving object. but we encountered some questions. One question is, if we have archived the data, and if you archive the data using the ADK solution, you archive the data by database table. So this means you have the information about the root node in the corresponding database table of where we store the root data in the archive, the step data also in the corresponding database table that stores the step database step information, and you might have difficulties also to get the complete hierarchical structure of the XStep tree if you just have a look at the database tables. There's only one application that allows you to also display archive data of XStep trees from the archive, and this is the XStep repository. So if you have a standard XStep version where you archive the XStep tree data, then the system will load the data from the archive once you click on the standard XStep version that has this archived XStep tree data. Concerning master recipes, there is no standard solution to display archived master recipe data. So once it is archived, you can only have a look at the database tables, but not reload it into the application environment. And also for manufacturing orders, process and production orders, you have not the possibility to reload the archived process order data, including the XStep data, in the order maintenance environment that's where you used to work with. So this was quite a challenging question. And also one question that where we came across was, how can we determine the creation date of the XStep tree? So remember, if we, let's say, want to start with archiving the XStep tree data, probably the corresponding application data, meaning the manufacturing order or the master recipe, has been archived and has been deleted. So there's no database table content. And if you want to, let's say, refine the selection of the data that you want to write to the archive, then you might think about having a time restriction. So you enter a start and the end date, and then you want to archive all those XStep trees that have been created in this time range and that have the corresponding status to be marked for archive. If you check the database table that stores the XStep tree data, you come across a field that has the name origin timestamp. And during my first attempt, I thought, oh, quite good idea. Let's take this timestamp. But it's not a creation timestamp, it's the origin timestamp. And what's the difference? This I want just briefly to share with you. The origin timestamp is inherited from the original object. What does this mean? So have a look at this example. At the 12th of November last year, we created an XStep tree for a master recipe A. So here the origin timestamp is 12th of November. At the 1st September this year, we created a new master recipe B and copied it from A. Copying from A means that the XStep tree data is copied from the copying template and also assigned to the new master recipe. So those objects are new. The XStep tree root node is new, and we have an origin timestamp in the corresponding XStep tree database that is 12th of November 2013, because it's an origin timestamp and it is inherited. And things can really get worse if we now create a process order, and the process order uses the master recipe B as a template by getting the corresponding production version. Then the origin timestamp, 12th of November, is last year is the origin timestamp of the XStep tree that belongs to the manufacturing order. So this sounds a little bit confusing. We ran into the problem because I did a correction for the XML-based data archiving, and it shows the origin timestamp as the selection criteria for the start and end date. We had a we shipped this node to customers. They tested it and said, okay, I don't find any of my process order XStep trees where I know that I have created it starting from January this year. What's wrong? And the fact is that here they use an old master recipe, and the origin timestamp of these objects is not 1st of January 2014, but it is a date in the past. So this is not that nice. We had to cope with the problem and found a solution for that. We'll tell you later on. Okay, so what I will talk about now, also in the demo in the next couple of minutes, is about our IDK-based data archiving solution. So how it will be realized. We plan to have a shipment with an SAP node. And oldest release where we plan to implement this solution is ERP 2005, ECC 6.0, because it's the go-to release, still the go-to release of SAP ERP. And you'll have the solution also in the current release and the upcoming releases of SAP ERP, and also the process management components that are shipped by SAP. So meaning if you use enhancement package 5, 6 or 7, you can implement the node. The node will be quite big because there are a lot of things to do also manually. And here also the recommendation would be to, if you can, to implement the support package. But implementation via SAP node is also possible for the planned solution. Okay, there's one thing. If you use the ADK transaction Zara, I will also point you to an information button if you work with the archiving. Then the younger archiving objects contain documentation. So the old XStep archiving object is the documentation is only available in the SAP library, and we don't have any documentation in transaction Sarah for the old archiving object. Why? Because when we started developing our XSteps and also the archiving solution, there was no information button and also no possibility to have a separate documentation for the archiving object in the standard. For the new one, we'll ship this standard documentation later on, and I think about also providing you with a short how-to guide that describes how to set up the archiving for the IDK-based part. And together with this demo, our hope is that you'll have enough information rolled out to the customer base, to you, to work with the new IDK-based archiving object. Okay. We have a new archiving object, CMX_XS. And of course, we'll have a different archiving write report. Have a new archiving deletion report. And also what is quite a big difference from the older archiving objects, we plan to ship a read report. This means you can show the data of the archived XStep trees that now have lost any application content if you work with transaction Sarah in a data list format. So it's quite similar to the functionality that we shipped in the node that allows you to have a look at the XML and change logs for XStep trees that belong to master recipes. So it's if you used to work with that, you find it quite very similar. And also what we added is the possibility to download an XML file that has the content of this of the archived XStep tree data. So this might be also more convenient for you to search for long texts. Okay, so one step back. I told you that we can't use the origin timestamp in the XStep tree data, and what we want to avoid is to get the this data information from the objects that belong to the XStep tree. And therefore we'll introduce, or it's planned to introduce, a new field in the database table CMX XSDB tree that is named create timestamp. And here we populate the creation date, and there are three possibilities to do that. So if the node is implemented and you create a new XStep object, or if you copy an old XStep SXS version to a new one, copy and paste it, then this value of the creation timestamp is automatically added to the database content, to the object itself. Because we want to select by the creation date, we offer also a report that allows you to add this creation date for all database table entries in the tree database table. So it will identify the first timestamp when the XStep tree root object was created, because this was the birth of the XStep tree, and then it will copy this information to the XStep tree database table. And if you select objects that don't have this creation timestamp, we'll do this also automatically if we create the archiving, if we execute the archiving write reports for the found database, for the found XStep tree data. Okay, I hope I did not confuse it too much. So I would just like to go to the live demo and finish the PowerPoint presentation for a moment. So let's go to the system. First of all, I will quickly show you how the new database, so the new archiving object looks like. So here is the transaction Sarah, where you start the archiving. The new archiving object is named CMX As you can see here, we have 4 actions. We have the write report execution, the deletion report execution. We can also start reading the data and also have a look at the archiving sessions that are run. First thing that I want to start with is something that you might not have seen. I want to archive master recipes and manufacturing orders, especially process orders that have XStep trees. And as you can see here, for the standard archiving object for master recipes, we have only the possibility to write or to delete the data. And I will just continue to write the data. I prepared a variant. So we can just have a look at how this looks like. What I will also set here, we can just set it. We have here the selection criteria for the master recipe. I have 2 master recipe groups that are flagged for deletion as well. And here is the standard entry screen for this writing report, where we archive the entire master recipe group and also add a log. So it's quite an old archiving object, so it's not that comfortable compared with process orders. Okay, I will start immediately and execute the batch job. So don't be that much confused. I executed archiving earlier before. We concentrate on those entries here. You see we have a spool log for the writing of the data. And if I click on here, we see, okay, we have reorganization for those two master recipes. And also for those of you who are familiar with the database tables, here you can see the name of the database tables and also the entries that are archived. Just quickly go back. And if we check the deletion, you will see that also we have a deletion. The data object means we have 2 recipes. One recipe is one data object, and also the gained database table space in megabyte. And also the database table entries that have been removed from the database table. Okay, so next thing that I want to briefly show you is also archive order data. Here we have a little bit different approach. We have a pre-processing run that identifies process orders that belong to certain selection criteria and mark them also to be ready to be written to the archive. So I have to execute this first. So also maintained one for the XStepCafe. And just check it here. I have process orders created before that contain XSteps, and also technically set the deletion flag. And what the report here will do is set also the deletion flag. It is not set in the deletion indicator, which is a prerequisite for order archiving. One thing that you have to here, normally you have a value of 90 days. You have to clear this field, otherwise the system will check, okay, this process order might be also required, so we don't archive it. And here I just say, okay, these orders are created today, I just want to archive them. Okay, so we do the pre-processing run. Okay, could be that it's also quite quick. And if I find the right table entry, so then we see, okay, here the deletion indicators have been activated for those 4 orders. Okay, this was the pre-processing. Now just start the writing. And here I also create a variant for the writing report. This is quite SAP standard, what you see here. And we'll just also have a detail log. We'll also see an application log and the list and spool part, and also the orders that are marked for being ready for archiving in the pre-processing run. Okay, trigger the execution, and now it could be that it takes some time. You see the job is quite active. So it's finished, and let's just check the spool log file of the writing report. You can see we archive 4 objects, meaning 4 orders. And if I scroll down a little bit, you see that the 4 orders have been archived. Okay, and because I triggered the deletion of the physical deletion of the database tables after archiving, we get also here a triggering of the deletion report, and you see here the database table and also the regained database table space that we had because we removed the database table entries. Okay, so but the really nice thing, I'll come closer. So those of you that are not familiar with having a look at database table entries, just ignore it for the moment. What I want to show you is here our database table where we store the tree data. It's named CMX XSDB3, and if objects are marked for archiving, as I did just now, they get an archive state of 1. Okay, so I executed this. What you see here is also the application, meaning master recipe. Change mode means this is an historical object, so we can have different versions. Manufacturing orders and XStep repository content are non-historical objects. What you see also here, these are ELDO, the origin timestamp, 2010, and the creation timestamp, which is quite different. And also, these are ELDO objects that have been marked for archived. They don't have this creation timestamp. But I will select in a couple of seconds my objects using this creation timestamp for archiving the XStep tree data. Okay, here we go. So let's execute the writing report. Here also we have some variants. I created a variant for the master recipe data. So I have to regret that because our objects are created in German language, that you will see some labels and description in in German, but I will briefly explain it, what it means to you. Okay. On the first level, this is identical for all writing reports with new archiving objects. We have the application that has to be entered. This is MRC, and the maximum amount of numbers of XStep trees that we want to archive. We have restricted this to a 3-digit number because we don't want to have a buffer overload. If you create, if we had at least archived 40,000 process orders and marked 40,000 XStep trees that belong to those process orders for being archived. Okay, just a second. And here is the possibility to select either with the date and time, meaning a starting date and end date, or if I just toggle this, date, this is also not translated so far, you can say, okay, I want to archive all the XStep trees that have been created in the last 30 days. So then you would just enter the days, which is quite more comfortable. Concerning the processing options, you have a test mode and a productive mode, and also this deletion with test variant, which is quite ADK archiving standard for SAP archiving objects. I want to have a detailed log. I want to have a log that shows me the list and the application log, and also a comment for the archiving run. Okay, so speed up a little bit. Just execute it. Okay, I archived data before, and what we see here, we had the writing of the XStep tree that belongs to the master recipes. What you also get here is the writing report log saying, okay, I have historical objects. Also, I archive the content data, meaning the root content and the step content, and also change logs that have been created when the XStep trees of the master recipes were created and maintained. And what you also get here is the information about the XStep tree root node, where you can also then check later on if the data is remained in the system or not. Okay. In parallel with the archiving, I also trigger the deletion, and here also you get the information, the deletion log, in the same way that we saw for the master recipes or process orders before, and also information about the XStep tree root node. Okay, quite technical stuff. Next thing that I want to do is, okay, let's also archive our XStep trees that belong to manufacturing orders. Here, this the same screen. If I don't add anything in here, we have a population with default values, and get it done. And if you can see here, this should be the writing report. Also, we collect 4 XStep trees that belonged to those process orders. Okay, so this is quite easy. Have a look at the management part, and you see here also the archiving runs, which is also SAP standard. So you can display the job. You get also some notes if there. You can also do some notes, and also get the information that the deletion is completed, as we saw before. And the thing that you might be, let's say, waiting for is the how can we read the data. And here's the reading report on information. We use archiving index and also archive index structure for archiving the XStep tree data, because it could be a lot of data that is archived, and you can access also the data independently from this reading report via the archive information system, which is also an advantage compared with the previous solution. And this means that you can have a direct look to the database table content via the archive information system. But we want to look at the database table so far. I will just also add here the application. We have also the possibility to define the selection range for the creation timestamp. I will just keep it open. And So what you get first is an overview about the archived XStep trees, and you see archived some before, and we archived 2 master recipes containing each an XStep tree. And here you see the root node ID, the application context. The archiving state means this is written to the archive, and when the XStep tree was created. So, okay, I did this early this morning. And the list view, so I have to also see not completely finished. Here we have the same way that we use for the changelog evaluation. We just get all the information from the XStep tree root node, like the node ID, also the timestamp, and also the context. Don't be that much confused that here the root context is a little bit mixed, because this is the way how we get the context back from the corresponding method that we use in the XStep environment. So the routing type is 2 for master recipe, the routing group or the master recipe group is RC4, and also the alternative is X4.
Uwe?
Yes?
I have a meeting shortly after this. Just checking the time. Is that taking much longer, or?
No, we just show it for the manufacturing order.
Okay, great.
Okay. Just want to show you here. Here's the content of the XStep tree, also the XStep object. You can also see here the step context, and also if you have a SX as a reference. And if you have a parameter, and the parameter is evaluated, you would also get here information about that. So, and the next thing is that you can download the XStep tree data in XML, which is quite helpful if you have data that could be not displayed in the ALV grid, because the ALV has a normal restriction concerning the amount of characters that can be shown here. So, and if we do this for the manufacturing order, you will also get here all the orders and could check it again. Here also the context of the order is displayed, like the order number. You can search for those fields, and also the information about the parameters. So this is what I briefly wanted to show. So I'm currently refining this thing, and hopefully we can ship it within the next weeks. Summarizing up the presentation, here are some links to the existing documentation. The documentation will also be updated for the new archiving object, but this will also take more time than it will take for completing the ADK XML, the ADK archiving object node. So this would it be from my part, my perspective. If you have some questions that I could answer in the last few minutes, just let me know.
Yeah, thank you, Uwe, for the presentation. As usual, I expect that you get a PDF document of your presentation so that I can share it on the blog. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. Anybody else has a question?
Arnie, this is Sue Roshan again. Hi.
Yes.
I have a quick question. You have on the blog an explanation of how to use live parameters, and I've tried to do that and have an error with the control recipe destination type. What type do we need to be using for live parameters? Not 4?
I would say 4, yes.
Yeah, it's giving me an error. So I did post a response back on the blog to your original discussion about it, but yeah, it's giving me an error on that destination type is not supported with live parameters.
I must admit that with live parameters we had some issues in the past. Not sure whether it's one of those. Uwe, what do you think? What is the current status of the live parameters?
I think they should be usable, because the node that caused the side effect was also fixed. But sure, destination type 4 browser-based PI should be supported. Yeah. So it could be
And
that.
I'm getting
There should-
CMX XS117 message number. Live parameter, live power is not supported in conjunction with
Yeah.
destination.
Okay.
The colleagues can
We're at
check this.
enhancement pack 4, though, so I don't know if that matters.
Don't think so.
Ju-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Create a message and they will
Okay.
check probably what's the matter there.
Okay, and then I did have one other quick question. Lock on table sign H, S-I-G-N-H, during digital signatures, are those supposed to be getting released, or should they be getting released? Like right now, we have 265 locks on that table from digital signatures, and they aren't released until the person exits the PI sheets completely. Should we be concerned? And is there a way, if we should be concerned, is there a way to clear those locks?
So these are logs in the SM12 table, I suppose. So the NQs, so the data sets are NQ'd.
Yes, locks.
Yeah, I think also the colleagues should check this, because I don't think that it should be necessary to hold these logs so long. Because if you have too much NQs, then the NQ server will then stop processing, and you won't be able to process further. Yeah, but this is
That's what my thought was too. I thought it would slow things down or even hang things up. So we should put in a message for that?
Yeah, would be fine, at least that the colleagues can investigate it.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. So sorry, I need to close this down now, because I'm the host of this meeting and I have another meeting shortly here right now. Maybe next time we try to reserve some more time for questions and answers of other questions. And in the meantime, please use the Google Plus community if you've got any further questions, so that maybe also the community can try to answer those. And yeah. And until then, I'd like to say thank you for your attendance, and till next time. And as usual, I will post the time, the expected time. It might be shifted due to some conflicts, but as always, I will now send this email around so that you shouldn't miss it.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.